Shit, we're live. Okay. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 9 of Brothers of Recovery. I am your maestro of madness. I am your chaos coordinator. I am your functional fuckhead, Brother Sean.
That's the
And if you're
best
listening,
intro ever.
yeah, if you're listening and you're not watching, Brother Josh is laughing his ass off right now.
Yes, I am. I am Brother Josh. I am the self-appointed oracle. I am
Yes.
the co-host of this magnificent vessel called Brothers of Recovery, and I'm also the co-host of the new pro wrestling podcast called Club Kayfabe that
Mm.
we're trying to recruit Brother Sean to.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
Yeah, I'm
He's
very
trying to recruit
shameless.
me. Very shameless plug. Um, Today's topic is going to be heavy.
Very.
And it just kind of goes along with what I have been dealing with for the past week. Uh, and I'm pretty sure Brother Josh has some things to share on it as well. Um, so if you do find yourself in a moment of uh, being upset or triggered or what have you by what we share and what we talk about, it's okay to turn it off, come back to it, or don't. That's okay. But today's topic is going to be really heavy. It's going to be on grief and loss. Before we dive into that, Brother Josh, how has your week been?
My week has been very interesting. Mainly because right before we hopped on here to record, I received a phone call from my old employer, one of my supervisor, and they are trying to get me to come back, which it's working in the recovery field. It's what I want to do. Um, I obviously stepped away for personal and financial reasons. But the company is expanding and growing, and they are trying to get me to come back. And it's just a lot to think about. I'm going to be sitting down with them in the coming weeks to discuss um, the financial aspect of it and the scheduling aspect of it because I want to work just strictly day shift. I don't want to do the hopping around 2 days on day shift, then 3 days second shift, and then two overnights. I can't do that because I have a whole life that I like to be a part of.
Yeah, you're not a bachelor anymore, man. You got a whole life.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to spend time just sitting at home with my dog, my cat, and my beautiful fiance, who is right next to me on our bed reading a book right now. Her her smut books.
Oh,
they're hey,
oh.
they're interesting. So I mean, I can't really knock her.
Look, man. When I was with my ex of 2 years, I listened to the Fourth Wing set so many times. I knew
Mhm.
what each character's name was, what they were about to do, and what they had already just done. It was
Right.
insane.
Like I don't read like that. But when she's reading, she tells me what's going on with the stories, and it's very, very intriguing. Like a lot of the stuff, even though like the subject matter is, whatever taboo, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
it's it's interesting because a lot of it is written from a female perspective. It's written from a female author. So I feel like that's a little better in my eyes. Like if it was written by a dude and you're talking about like this stuff, I feel like that dude needs to be investigated.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a friend that does that writes smut books. She lives in Arizona.
Mm,
Really good human being. Side note, is that company that you are talking about, is it the one that starts with the M?
yes.
I seen a few of their ads pop up on my social medias, and I'm like, that's where brother Josh used to work.
It's a great company. Like, I have
Oh,
nothing. I can't say anything bad about it. I can't. Like, they do, because we talked about it in one of the previous episodes, how programs don't always care for the client very much. This company is like the unicorn in that aspect where they actually care of their clients. They even like the aftercare after they leave the program and everything after graduation.
yeah, dude, healthcare is huge, especially like in the recovery field. It's huge. You know, and they out of Westminster?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Mm. This week has not been kind to me, but I've taken it with grace.
Yes.
Actually, the woman that I am currently talking to, I shared it, and she's like, I'm continuing to be impressed by how you're handling this because this shit isn't easy for a lot of people to handle. So last Monday was Memorial Day, and normally for everybody else, it's a day to get out and go and enjoy a barbecue. It's a 3-day weekend, what have you. Normally, I prepare myself mentally, emotionally, because of what I've been through, and I've lost quite a few people. This year, it sprung up on me, and I was like, "Fuck, okay." The gym wasn't open on Monday either, so I didn't have a place to focus that energy. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to start working on these hand drums. Um, they're drums. If I had one on me, like I have one in my healing room, but I started working on that and I tore the leather once. And then the second time it tore, I snapped, absolutely snapped. I ripped it apart. And like the frame of it is, oh, I spiked that thing with like the hopes that it would break and it didn't. And I was like at this point where I was like, fuck everything. I'm just going to quit all of my healing stuff because it's not just that. It was like a compilation of things that had happened over time. And I talked to a few of my friends to include Brother Josh, and y'all calmed me down. So I'm grateful for that. Y'all calmed me down and got me to a point where I was like, okay, I don't have to give everything up. I just need to take a breath. And so Tuesday was okay. I was able to like ground myself. Wednesday was awesome for the most part. I went to the gym Wednesday and got back home, and I was like, I'm gonna start working on building my garden. So I built my garden up and went back outside later on, or maybe I did something with my garden that day. I can't remember. And then I went back out later on and started cutting down branches on my tree so I would have firewood for my fire pit I just built, as well as some wood to work with, for projects that I'm doing. And afterwards, I got in the shower. Like I got out and I heard my phone buzzing, and like it was my cousin. Now, my cousins never call me. No, I barely talk to them. We have a great relationship, but it's just one of those things. I live over an hour away. I can't get to places fast enough. So I knew it was a bad phone call. And I picked it up. And as soon as I heard his voice, I knew it was something really bad. And he was like, Grandpa passed away. I was like, fuck. And that to me was the one person that if he passed away, I always said if when my grandpa passes away, um, I'm going to be destroyed. And so I took no time to get ready, jumped in the truck, drove fucking breakneck speed through the Catoctin Mountains into Hagerstown, and I was able to sit with him um, and just be there and be present. And I let it all out as I was driving. And I've been around death, but I'm not the greatest at death, just simply for the fact that, like, it's another human being, it's somebody that means something to us. And, but I also have a different perspective on death. It's a transition. Things live, they die. But that's the spiritual side of me. The human side of me still, was gut wrenched. So I was there, I let it go. And I had a situation with my dad. And I think that I've covered with you maybe about my relationship with my dad.
Yeah.
But I haven't really talked about it on air. And my dad and I don't have a relationship at all. And he got notified, and I didn't expect him to show up, but he did anyways. And he didn't recognize, he saw me, but he didn't talk to me. He didn't give me a hug, nothing. And so I was like a little fucked up over that. Um, then we met with my grandma on Friday. My grandma didn't know until Thursday because she's in a nursing home. And she wanted to see my grandfather before the funeral. So we took her to the funeral home and I sat with her. And I got to sit and listen to stories about my grandfather that I had never heard before. And it was just like a really cool experience to experience. Um, and then this whole week, I've kind of been in a lull. Like, I won't say that I was in a bad state of mind or a good state of mind. I would say that I was existing the best way I can.
Yeah.
And today we had the funeral. So it's Thursday today. We had the funeral today. And I made a whole TikTok about it. I never wear suits. And I went and bought a suit. He's gonna be the only person's funeral I show to in a suit. I should rephrase that. Anyways, um, it's the funeral, and everybody's there. It's people I haven't seen in decades, if not longer. Some people I haven't seen since I was a kid, and it was really cool. But I was talking to one of my cousins that I haven't seen in like 10 plus years. He lives in Baltimore. He's a Baltimore City cop. His dad lives in Bowie. I grew up with them. Um, I always loved going to their house. So I was talking to them, and then my dad walks over, greets them, doesn't greet me, greets everybody. Not me. And like, you think that it stops there. It doesn't. I went to the bathroom because I had to go to the bathroom. He's standing in there. Didn't say a word to him. This man sat right in front of me. Didn't say a word to him. We went to my aunt's house for like lunch slash dinner. And he didn't say a word to me. I was sitting in the living room and he was in the kitchen. He went into the garage to sit there. He even walked in and was like, "Whose Titan is that?" Asking if one of my other cousins was there. I was like, "That's mine." He didn't respond, nothing. Just left. Now, if you would have asked me a year ago how I felt about that, I would have been destroyed. Absolutely wrecked. But the fact that my dad would not talk to me. Now I can see through it and I can see through the bullshit because I've encountered an avoidant before. And that's what my dad is. He's an avoidant.
Yeah.
He's always been that way. And I don't see it's going to change. But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about grief and loss. And he gutted me the fact that I lost my grandpa. There wasn't anything I could do. There isn't anything anybody could do, really. He had Parkinson's real bad, and he was having problems breathing. They took him to the ER. They gave him Percocet, and perks make him spiral further
Yeah.
down, and so he flatlined. And they resuscitated him, even though he had a DNR. They broke a bunch of his ribs, and he was stable. And then my aunt and my sister showed up, and he was just waiting. He was waiting for somebody to show up. His vitals dropped real bad, and they had to make a decision right there. Do they continue to allow him to suffer, or do they let him rest? And they chose to let him rest, and I'm grateful they did. But it's, I think as a man, like, we're told to suck it up and
Mhm.
not deal with it. And it's June, it's Men's Mental Health Month, along with Pride Month. If that's your thing, go for it. Happy you're choosing to love who you love. But it's men's mental health. And as men, we're told to just suck it up, just deal with it. Like, it's not as fucking bad as you think it is. And that puts us in a real bad strain, especially when you hear it so often, even
Yeah.
as from a young boy. So, in the spirit of actually of Men's Mental Health Month, we're going to talk about this shit. We're going to talk
Yeah.
about that. Like, there's no reason to run from it. There's no reason to hide from it. You know, grief is one of those things. Grief and loss can lead you down some really nasty roads. I feel like this is weighing on you, Josh.
A little bit.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Show what you got to show.
I It's weird. I was sitting there thinking, like listening to you, and I realized like I haven't really spoken about it too much, about my grandfather passing. And like my grandfather passed away. I I had just I'm trying.
Okay, man, let it out. If you gotta let it out, let it out. It's okay.
Yeah, I came home from prison in February of 2024, and it was November of 2024 when my grandfather passed away. And it was it literally came out of nowhere because like growing up, I always looked at my grandfather like he was like this Superman. Um he was a veteran from the Korean War. He worked in a rock quarry his whole life. Um Retired from there. That's literally all I knew about his job, that he worked in a quarry. Um and then like he treated my grandmother like an absolute queen, and she treated him like a king. She worked too, but not full time. She was like a part-time bus driver, like school bus driver, just because she wanted to get out of the house. And like he would come home and she would have dinner ready for him. And I always remember this. Whenever we would go over to my grandparents' house, when she got dinner done, she served him first, and then everybody else was allowed to go grab their food. But my grandfather had to get his plate first because his money was the reason that food was there. His money was the reason that stove was running, that electric was on, and everything like that. Um, and in his older age, like my grandfather was always active. Like he didn't like go for runs or anything like that, but they lived in Sykesville in this place called the Gaither Manor Apartments. They lived there my whole life. And there's like this little wood trail that he would always take me and my brother and our cousins down there when we were kids. And he would we'd be walking. There's nothing in there. It's just like a wooded trail. There's some farms back there. That's about it. And he would always like, "Come on, boys, we're going bear hunting." And we would go back there, and he would start making like bear growl noises. And for the longest time, we didn't know it was him. And we'd be like, "Oh, did you hear that? That's a big grizzly." There's no grizzlies in Maryland. Now that I'm older, I realize that. But if you would have told 10-year-old me that there's no grizzlies in Maryland, like, I don't know. My grandfather said that there is, you know. Um, but it was November. It was a morning in November. Um, he went out and they have like a little garden right at the front of their apartment, and he was just tending to his little garden. And he came back inside and he told my grandmother that he was tired. He was going to lay down, and he laid down, took a nap. My grandmother went in there to wake him up, and he was gone. And this was like the strongest person that I ever knew in my life. No, my cousins, they live there. They're younger than me. I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest grandchild, and they texted me and said that he was gone. And I lost it. Like, I broke down. And it was just like you said, like, if when my grandfather passes away, it's gonna destroy me. And it literally destroyed me. And I was 10 years sober. And like, it's the first time in my life I actually thought about, like, man, fuck this. I don't want to be here if he's not here. And I always regret that when I came home, I didn't get to see my grandfather one last time. And I owe a lot of being able to get through it at that time to my fiance, because like we had just started talking on we met on an app, and I found out like who she was. She was like my high school crush, and that's a funny story. She doesn't remember me from high school. But just talking to her, and you know any other person in their right mind, they probably would have been like, "Oh, he's got a lot going on. Let me see if anybody else out there." But she didn't waver at all. She stayed right there and let me go through it and process. And when I was ready, I reached back out to her, and I think it was like I can't even remember, but we've been together ever since. Like, my grandmother adores her, says that if I don't marry her, I'm an idiot, pretty much. Um, my family adores her, like, but this is literally the first time I've actually really spoken about my grandfather passing, and because at the time I didn't really have anybody. I had just started talking to her. I didn't really have anybody to talk to. Didn't have anybody to process that with. I didn't really know at the time, or like you said, we're raised as men to just suck it up. And I hate to say it, but my grandfather was like one of those men. He never really said it, because my grandfather was a man of very few words. Um, Literally, when you talk to him, be like, "Hey," I called him Papa. Like, I'm like, "Hey, Papa, how are you?" Like, that's literally what he said, was just. I'm like, "That's a good or a bad I can tell by the inflection." But it's also like I had similar experiences as you. Like, you hear these stories. Mine wasn't so much stories. It was he had a closet, 2 closets. One was his tool closet. We'd never opened that. I'm 35 years old. I was 34 when he passed. Yeah, I'll be 36 this year. I was 34 when he passed. In my whole 34 years, I never opened that closet. because I knew that's Papaw's closet. You don't touch Papaw's stuff. And he had so much cool stuff in there, man. Like his tools, he had all these belt buckles that he had gotten through his years of working at the quarry. And I found out that he didn't just work at a rock quarry, he was the explosives guy. Like the highest you can go in the explosives. Like he could I always say that my grandfather probably could have built a bomb, but thankfully he didn't. But like, and I found all this collectible stuff, and my grandmother just like she gave it to me and my brother. But I'm a huge nerd. I'm the biggest nerd in our family. My cousins, they're nerds too, but they're like video game nerds. I like comics and stuff like that. Um, he my grandmother gave them to me. It's a complete set ceramic dolls from the original Star Trek show. I haven't shown them to you, but I keep them in the trunk of my car so that he's always with me. And just you think you know somebody because you're around them your whole life, and then you find out that not only were they this great human being, but they had so many layers to them. And I think that's what kind of helped me deal with or not deal with, but like process my grief and my loss is that I got to see all this cool shit that my grandfather had. Like I knew he loved trains and he collected like trains and like toy trains. He collected like pieces of trains and like every year for Christmas, he would always have like the most extravagant train set under the tree that would like absolutely drive my grandmother insane because she would have to like obstacle course through her house. But I mean, I'm honestly surprised I held it together as well as I did because even though it'll be coming up on 2 years in November, it's still like when I go over to my grandmother's, like it's just I'm always expecting to open the door and see him sitting in his chair and watching the Weather Channel like he always did. But from what my
Those things,
grandmother,
and
huh?
said you expect those things, and they just don't happen.
Yeah, it's just it's tough, but if you have the right support system, and it could be the most random support system, like something that you never saw coming, it can help you process. Um, I'm fortunate. Well, I'm appreciative, not fortunate, appreciative and fortunate that I came into your life when I did because that's a heavy loss, man. And like we've had deep conversations on here, but we've also had deep conversations, like personal conversations in private, you know? And like I know your situation with your dad, and I've even told you like he's gonna regret that. You have nothing to regret. You've done everything that you can. You're an amazing person. So it's completely his loss, you know? I know what you bring to people. I know what you offer to not just people but the world around you. You're like one of the most kind and like generous people I've ever met. And I consider myself not to sound conceited, but I said I'm kind. I'm not humble.
No, no, that's okay. That's okay.
But yeah, I just, I'm glad that, we became brothers, and I consider you like one of my closest best friends. It's you and Sam. And
Scramble am.
yeah, oh yeah, scramble lamb.
Scramble am.
But I'm glad that I was able to be there for you, because I remember when he passed, you called me and you were like, "Hey," you told me what happened. You said, I'm headed to Hagerstown. I was like, "Dude, just be careful." What did I say? Speed.
Responsibly.
Yeah, I said speed
Speed responsibly.
responsibly.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. I was going through so over and on my side of things, you can't see it. Nobody else can. So he's a little peer behind the curtain. There's a thing that's overlays where you can share pictures and stuff. And I went to save a picture of my grandfather to show you. Yeah. I've shared it on social media, but I'm going to share it here. I was just looking and I have overlays from when I was in a wrestling podcast. You want to see? I had two that I kept. You want to see them?
Yes, you're a man
I
of
don't,
many hats.
yeah, I don't remember what this is from, but that was one of the things that I would be like, "Oh God." So somebody say something really exciting and I pop that up. Then the second one is one that I created. And it's before he even came out and said it on SmackDown, but I created Cody Raheem Rhodes, BIG from Notorious B.I.G.'s album cover.
That
Um,
is
yeah,
hilarious.
hmm yeah,
The first
but
one is probably my favorite. Like,
oh yeah, that one, yeah, that's the old West Virginia special, buddy.
I need you to send that to me because I'm gonna start posting that on everything.
Yeah, yeah,
If I
okay,
see somebody
yeah,
post something on Facebook out off the wall, I'm posting that like,
yeah, 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 definitely. Um,
whoo, that just
what? Yeah, what? Yeah, we got to lighten the mood a little bit.
yeah,
Um,
man.
but going about talking about your grandfather, the obituary that was put out yesterday was written by two of my cousins. They encapsulated everything that I wanted to say. There's no meaning to add to it. But you said your grandfather, you viewed him like Superman, and my cousins literally titled his obituary "Man of Steel" for many
That's
reasons.
awesome.
Yeah, my grandfather was a Vietnam veteran uh, as a Marine, and when he came back home, he had a lot of complications that
Yeah,
were not treated. Agent Orange, PTSD, TBI, bunch of stuff, depression, anxiety.
yeah,
But he met my grandmother, and um, I say to this day, I've never met another human being that loves or loved another human being like my grandfather loved my grandmother.
yeah.
Um, they were together 53 years. I've seen them argue, and he never let that get the best of him. And one of the stories my grandma told me was there was a time where she said, "I'm divorcing you," and he was like, "Okay," and went and started packing a bag. She said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "If you're leaving, I'm coming with you." And like that's the kind of love that that I've been searching for my whole life, and it was modeled to me.
Yeah,
Fucking, why would I not look for that? Um,
that's that's true
like
love.
that's unconditional, and that's actually what I was gonna get at next. Was my grandfather taught me a lot, but I think the most valuable lesson he ever taught me in my life was unconditional love,
Yeah,
loving another human being or human beings wholly and completely, looking past their flaws and seeing who they are. Uh, that's unconditional. And that was my grandfather.
yeah,
There were so many people that had problems with my grandfather just because who he was. He didn't take shit from anybody. But on top of that, he was very fierce with love, right? He
Yeah.
cared for everybody, loved everybody. Even if you had a problem with him, he loved you. Um, my grandfather had a hard time getting a job. Obviously, veterans, we have a hard time getting a job when we get out of service. And when he met my grandmother, my great grandfather on my mom's side, or my grandma's side, was a World War II veteran. And he worked at the University of Maryland as a cook. And he got my grandfather a job as an electrician. My grandfather knew fuck all about electricity, but he learned really quick.
That's back in those times where you didn't need to go to school for it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You didn't need to go to a trade school to learn a trade. You just learned on the job. And my grandfather worked there for 25 years, retired out of the university. He helped wire the soccer stadium at the University of Maryland, and like the story, like I remember sitting there and just talking to my grandfather, and there's some stories I can't repeat on here, obviously, for they're controversial. In the time, they weren't. In the
Yeah.
time, it's like, God damn, Grandpa, okay, you
Yeah.
all right, but like those are stories I'll never repeat to anybody. Maybe you offline, but he took so much pride in that. But he took being a Marine as one of his biggest prides. But this was like his pride and joy. Everybody he ever met, he showed this to. And that was just like his fucking baby. This is my grandfather lifting a tree trunk into the bed of a fucking truck without any help.
When men were men, as they say.
When men were men. Um, and everybody saw that. Even to the day that he passed, everybody that he encountered saw that. He carried that with him. The original news article. That's how much that meant to him. And it wasn't because of how strong he was. It was because everybody said he could do it. And he fucking did it anyways. He was such a fucking yoked man. He would go work out with football players and do more weight than the football players and more reps. Like he would put 1,000 pounds on a fucking leg press, and they would say you could never do it, and he just lift it like it was nothing. And so yeah, he was the strongest man I ever met in my life. He's the most gracious and kind man I've ever met in my life. The reason why I am the way that I am, with helping people at the drop of a dime, without expecting anything in return, is because him. He taught that to me. He taught me so much. I mean, when I was a kid, dude, my fondest memory of my grandfather is I was 5 years old, just turned five. My grandma and grandpa had just gotten custody of my sister and I. And my grandfather had a double knee surgery. And the day after his double knee surgery, we went out into our backyard and began to build a deck for a pool. It's him and I. That thing stood for 20 years. And the only reason that it got taken down, or the only reason that it's gone now, is because somebody destroyed it. Literally ripped the fucking the cement foundation out of it. It stood that long. It stood through blizzards, hurricanes, storms. Because my grandfather did. He had multiple sheds on the property, and those stood until somebody tore them down. My grandfather, like, there was nothing that he didn't touch that wasn't fixed, and that's including human beings too. My favorite picture of him, I wish I had it on hand, was when I was 5 years old. I was wearing like this camo, like fucking this camo night night clothes pajamas, and he was cuddling me, and that was like my favorite thing, right? Like we would watch TGIF back in the day, and we would get a water bed, and we just all cuddle on the fucking waterbed. My grandma would sit on her computer in the corner. And it would just be us kids laying in bed with my grandpa. And I loved it. And I lived with him for 6 years. No, technically seven, but the seventh year would be late when I was much older. Uh, but he taught me everything about being a man. And then when I was older and I moved back down with him, uh, I said my first cuss word in front of him, and it was like accidental. Like there was no filter from here to here, and somebody had cut us off. I'd actually him and I. He had taken me to go do an orientation for McDonald's, and we were leaving the parking lot and turning on dual highway in Hagerstown, the world, one of the fucking worst. Yeah,
Hagerstown in
over
general is
by.
just bleh.
Oh yeah, yeah, dude. Yeah. But we were leaving. Somebody cut us off. My grandpa never really like got frustrated. In my mind, I heard and said, "What the fuck, you asshole!" And it came out. And my grandpa looked at me, and I was like, "Oh no!" I put my hand over my mouth, and he was like, "That's okay. You can say whatever you want. Just don't say it in front of your grandmother."
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I
yeah,
I said my first cuss word in front of my grandfather too. I we were walking in the trails. I think I was 12,
mm,
and I had we had my cousin Dakota, who was 10 years younger than me. He was like 2, and he was walking with us. And as kids do, they walk in front of you and they zigzag. So he walked in front of me, and I stepped on the back of his foot, and I fell. And I was always like a chubbier kid and everything. I always wore baggy clothes to hide my stomach and everything. But when I tripped and I fell, I like ripped my shirt somehow. And when I got up, I was like, God damn it. And I was like, crap. Cause like my grandfather never put his hands on us ever. That was like my grandmother's thing. She was the disciplinarian. He just had this aura about him that you were just like, he's never touched me. But if he does, I'm not gonna live. So like I was just like frozen in fear that I said, God damn it. Not only just damn it, but God damn it. And he's like uber Christian. I thought for sure that he was gonna smack me in the back of the head and my head was gonna go flying because that's how strong he was in my mind. And the most gentlest man in the world, he looks right at me and he's just like, don't say it in front of your grandmother. And I was just like, say less.
yes, sir. Yeah, yeah. Man, yeah, my grandfather was the disciplinary and in the household. My grandmother was judge and jury. My grandfather was executioner, just because he was a strong man. I remember
Yeah.
like the Christian school that I went to growing up. We worked on a tally system. Like green tallies means like you talked in class. Red is like you're on the verge of suspension or expulsion.
You're going to hell.
And yeah, yeah. And like so my grandparents got sick of like my sister and I continuously getting green tallies or tallies in general. And they said, if you're going to be punished per tally. The week that scared me the most, which kind of like shaped me back into shape. I wasn't a bad kid. I was just a normal kid with ADHD.
Yeah.
And my sister had gotten 22 tallies in 1 week.
Jesus.
Yeah. And my grandparents had said, yeah, however many tallies you get, multiply that by two, and that is going to be the number of swats you get.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And I came home and my grandfather was carving a paddle
Mm.
out of 2x4. And I asked him, what does it mean? He's like, I'm making a paddle. I said, well, who's that for? And he said, for you. I'm sure shit. Like, he broke that thing out of my arms. Weird. But, you know, he
And
He had
just a
always.
disclaimer, like, that's not abuse, that's
No.
how we were raised, like, it was
Yeah.
different. Like,
Hmm.
I hate the argument, "Oh, if people beat their kids, we wouldn't have kids like we have today." I mean, it holds some truth, but it's also like, a lot of people would be getting arrested.
Yeah, but on top of that too, man, like it was they were building fear out of respect,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? Like I respected the shit out of my grandfather and my grandparents, my grandma, so I knew that like I better start acting right.
Yeah,
They weren't, I when I was growing up at my grandparents' house, I didn't live in a house where it was like be seen, not heard. That was when I lived with my dad.
yeah.
Um, but my grandfather, man, I love that man to death, and I know he's in a better place. One of the things that I don't talk about normally, but I'm going to talk about on here is like the spiritual aspect of things. Um, One of my healing friends, Lauren, um, she was like, he's ready to be roasted. And when I went, I actually went and I did shaman, which is a part of what we do. So it's crazy because in my training, I have experienced everything before the class is meant to happen. And I don't know what class I'm stepping into,
Right.
right? So when I started my second module of training, um, my teacher, brought me in the back and he was like, okay, what have you been doing on our time off? I was like, a lot of divination, and he was like, what kind of divination? I told him. He was like, you know what class is about today? And I said, no, what is it? He's like, divination. So like everything has been precursor. And when I went to talk to my teacher about rescheduling my class from today till this prior Tuesday, I reached out to him. I said, what is class about this week? Josh, what do you think this class was about?
Loss. I don't
It's
know.
about death and dying.
Oh, you put me on the spot, man. I'm not good on the spot like
Yeah,
that.
it's all good. It's all good. This class was about death and dying. And
That's insane,
ugh,
man.
yeah. And so when my friend Lauren told me that, that he's waiting to be crossed over, I went in and put my hand down on his shoulder and like my head down and instantly went in and I saw him like the vision of him that I remember. And that's from when I was a kid. And, I grabbed him by the hand and I said, are you ready to go? And he said, yeah. So come in and when I came out, the room felt lighter. Everybody stopped crying. And I was explaining it to my friend Lauren, and she has seen my grandfather before, but not like the older version or the
Yeah.
younger version. So, and I was like, I was explaining it. She's like, "That's who that was." I was like, "Yeah." She saw everything that I was doing as I was doing it, and so it was pretty wild. But that spiritual side of me knows that he's in a place where he's not suffering, he's not in pain, he's not hurting anymore. But it's that human side of me that's like, I miss my life, right? Like I would give anything to have another conversation with him, give anything to hear another one of his war stories. I mean, to even like go over this again, I would fucking in a heartbeat, I would give anything for that. Um, but my grandfather lived a full life, and I'm grateful that he was a positive role.
I'm good. I'm good. I so I've dabbled in like songwriting and stuff like that. Like the intro to the show, like I, you know, did, but well, with the help of AI, but um I wrote a song. Um it took me like 6 months to write it, and it's about my grandfather. And it's called Grandpa Wait, and it's literally just talking about like who he was, the man that he was, how he was like carved out of stone, but had such like a soft heart, like playing into the quarry aspect and his love for my grandmother. And there's a line in there where it says like what I would give just to sit 5 more minutes by your bed. And it's just hearing those stories and just to hear his voice one more time, just to hear not even him talking, just to hear his grunts. And it's tough because he was a diehard Redskins fan. He was a diehard Tennessee Volunteer fan and Virginia Cavaliers fan. And every time I see a Tennessee Volunteer logo or Virginia, or if I see someone that has like an old school Redskins jacket, it's just I immediately think of him. And like when the Redskins changed their name, I would go over there. I'm like, "Oh, your team's looking good." He's like, "That's not my team." He's like, "My team disappeared. I don't know who this team is." And it's just like he had his, because he grew up in a different time. So he had his views, like where, everybody says, oh, that mascot and that name was offensive. He was like, it wasn't offensive, when they were winning Super Bowls or when they were winning. And I was just like, I mean, that is true. Nothing becomes more offensive when the team sucks. Like, and it's
That's
just,
why the Indians had to change their name.
yeah, now they're like the Guardians or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's crazy because my favorite hockey team, the Chicago Blackhawks, I guess it's because an actual tribe name. I don't know,
I
but
know the Redskins gifted the name to Washington.
yeah. And the
Yeah.
thing is, like, they weren't even originally from Washington. They were from Boston, like in the 30s and everything. And I don't know, people, that's a whole other thing, sensitivity and everything, which we could talk about that one episode, just sensitivity and people. Sometimes people just need to get over themselves. Like,
It's a good topic.
yeah, stop trying to be such a social justice warrior. You know, did you just dab or sneeze?
No, no, I sneezed. I didn't want to like bring it on air, so I muted it and sneezed in my arm.
Nope, it wasn't a sneeze. Sean just dabbed on show. But I mean,
Jesus, you got me over here dabbing.
yeah. Hey, I yeet all over myself. So I mean,
You can call me Dabosaurus Rex. I don't care.
okay, now you're going a little too far there, but just try and keep this PG, sir. No, I'm kidding.
Keep your pants on, brother Josh. But
Little do you
anyways,
know, I'm recording in nothing but a t-shirt and underwear. No, I'm kidding.
well, hey, it's not the pandemic anymore. Can't do that.
Have you ever seen the video
But
where the guy just stood up and he's got his underwear?
it's guys.
I love it.
I've seen videos of people that have like a suit front on and their back is like just the. I'm like, dude, that's crafty,
And they're just
man.
like
You can
they're
do it.
bare assing it when they stand up.
I think my favorite thing was when somebody was on the news and he was like working at home and then his kids run in and his wife runs in and like grabs the kid and the kid is like clawing to the door frame in the background.
I
Oh shit.
I that's why I like the pandemic era was probably one of the funniest eras because
Oh yeah.
you got to see people at their most unfiltered.
Yes. Yes. I also it was like really inspirational too. Like it's weird that like a pandemic, global pandemic, or what is called a global pandemic, like spurred so much inspiration. There was there was a whole ass street in Italy singing "My Heart Will Go On" by Celine Dion. Like
Hmm.
everybody was out on the balcony singing it, and it was like one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. But also, I've seen people like do full ass DJ sets from their balconies, and it's cool because you don't see that shit. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it was a crazy time, man.
mm. Actually, that's another one we can talk about is recovery in the pandemic because that's when I started my
Oh,
recovery.
that's a good one because that also delves into the mental health as well, because a lot of people
Mhm.
suffered from mental health episodes and issues during the
Isolation.
pandemic. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
I know
yeah,
all about isolation. I mean, I was in prison for 3 years. We could do a
oh yeah,
whole like week on isolation.
oh yeah, oh yeah. But at any rate, we're coming to the end of the show. Um, if this episode, starts something in you, just let us know in the comments. Um, we appreciate authenticity. We appreciate raw. We appreciate raw. Uh, I was looking at this for my firesider, my
Sh-
little stickers, and it says
Talk about shameless plug.
shameless plug here. We're doing all of the business over here. But
Well,
share whatever you got. If it's about a
yeah,
parent, grandparent, a friend, share it. It's okay. It makes it easier when you talk.
and don't be afraid to reach out to somebody. It could be someone that you don't talk to on a daily basis. Like, just reach out. Don't be afraid. We all need help, whether it be physical, mental, emotional. It takes, especially as men, it takes us a lot to be able to like say, I'm weak at this point in life.
Side note, you and I were talking about Butcher and the Blade the other day.
Love them.
Yeah, they are now free agents.
They're not coming to WWE. That's not.
I don't think so. But
It's a little extreme. I could see
yeah,
TNA.
the Bunny and the Blade are divorced, so I don't know if that would happen.
Oh, they got divorced? I didn't know that.
I think so. I think so. I could be wrong, but I think they did. But regardless, that is the show. I'm gonna go see Scary Movie 6, and I'm gonna go enjoy everybody getting offended
Yes, that's
and
the best thing. Sensitivity.
sensitivity. Yes, and that's a topic we'll cover in another episode. But at any rate, I hope you guys have a good week, and I hope that you guys, take what we say and apply it to your life. Whatever fits, keep it. If it doesn't, let it go. It's all right. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
So until next time, much love.
Love you.